Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Today we'll try and solve CUET PG Economics 2025 paper. We'll see kitna questions we are able to tackle today. The remaining we'll take it in the next class. So let's go ahead, look at the first question. I hope all of you had time to look at these questions. If not, do it with me today. Dekho, look at the question. The demand function is given by P is equal to 110 minus Q square. And the market equilibrium is attained at P naught is equal to 29 and Q naught is equal to 9. अब demand function linear हो या non-linear हो, it does not matter. It does not matter to us. So whether my demand function looks like this, चाहे वो ऐसा दिखे, या my demand function looks like this, right, which has a downward part and then an upward part, या my demand function looks like this. कंज्यूमर सरप्लस का जो फॉर्मूला है, वी ऑलरेडी नो दैट, हमें वो पहले से ही पता है कि कंज्यूमर सरप्लस हम कैसे निकालते हैं. And we will go ahead and we will find it in the same way. So what is the definition of consumer surplus? क्या है consumer surplus का definition? Consumer surplus is area below demand curve above price. एरिया बिलो डिमांड कर्व अबव प्राइस को हम कंज्यूमर सरप्लस बोलते हैं. एंड हाउ डू वी गो अहेड एंड हाउ डू वी फाइंड एरिया? एरिया कैसे निकलता है मैथ्स में? हाँ, कोई शेप हो तो हम उसका शेप का एरिया निकाल सकते हैं. इफ इट इज अ ट्राइंगल, हाफ इनटू बेस इनटू हाइट. इफ इट इज अ रेक्टेंगल, लेंथ इनटू ब्रेथ. बट अगर कोई भी शेप गिवन नहीं है, इफ नो शेप इज गिवन, तो वी नो दैट एरिया इज नथिंग बट यू कैन फाइंड इट बाय इंटीग्रेशन. So area under any curve, किसी भी कर्व की बात क्यों ना की जाए, the area under any curve can be found out by integrating that curve, right? So if I have to go ahead and if I have to find area under this curve, suppose, forget demand, supply, whatever. अगर मुझे एक quadratic function के अंडर एरिया निकालना है, so area under the curve, suppose I have to find the area from 0 to 5. So very simple. I will just integrate this curve from 0 to 5 and I will get the area under that curve. So this is the same thing. So now in this case, what has happened is कि क्योंकि it's a q square, माने it's a quadratic function. So since it's a quadratic function, ऐसा कुछ मेरा डिमांड कर रहा होगा, suppose. ठीक है. एंड इट इज सेइंग दैट आई हैव ऑलरेडी फाउंड आउट, मुझे पहले ही पता है कि जहां पे भी वो सप्लाई कर्व से इंटरसेक्ट हुआ होगा, वॉट एवर माई सप्लाई कर्व वुड हैव बीन, आई डोंट नो व्हाट दैट सप्लाई कर्व इज. वो सप्लाई कर्व ऐसा भी दिख सकता है, वो सप्लाई कर्व ऐसा भी दिख सकता है. वी डोंट नो व्हाट दैट सप्लाई कर्व इज, बट मुझे पता है दैट वेरेवर दैट सप्लाई कर्व वुड हैव इंटरसेक्टेड द डिमांड कर्व, जहां पे भी उसका इंटरसेक्शन हुआ होगा, सो आई नो दैट दैट इक्विलिब्रियम इज 29 and 9. यहां पर I know this is 29 and I know कि this is 9. ये information मुझे given है. This is what is given to me. So now what is consumer surplus? Area below the demand curve above the price. यही तो, this is what the consumer surplus is. So to find the consumer surplus, what we can do is we can first find the area under the demand curve, complete area under the demand curve. माने हम ये एरिया निकाल सकते हैं, right, by integrating from 0 to the quantity, and then we can subtract this area, and this area will always be a rectangle. ये हमेशा rectangle होगा. So this area will be nothing but this will be price into quantity. So we will subtract the area of price into quantity, right? So if I have to find this area under the demand curve, माने area under demand curve क्या है? Integrate that curve. So I have to integrate the demand curve from 0 to that quantity. And I have to subtract ये rectangle from it. माने I have to subtract price into quantity. What is the equation of the demand curve? अरे वो तो दिया हुआ, that is what is given to you, 110 minus q square. So I will integrate 110 minus q square. What is the quantity? From 0 to 9 units. Minus, what is the price? 29. What is the quantity? 9. Right? So just solve it. Integration of 110 will be 110 into q. Integration of q square will be q to the power 3 by 3 from 0 to 9 minus 29 into 9, whatever that number is. So 9 into 9 is 81, 8 up, 9 into 2 is 18 and 8, 26. Okay, put the values 110 into 9 minus 9 to the power 3 by 3 minus 261. Just solve this. Tell me what answer all of you are getting. 990 minus 3 into 9 into 9 minus 261. 486. Okay. So that's the answer to this question. 486 will be the answer. Shaded region. Yes. This is your consumer surplus, this region. बात समझ में आई? कोई डाउट इसमें? Anyone? Any doubt? Till the equilibrium quantity. Absolutely correct. Because that is where demand would have met supply. माने if you look at the general case that we do linear के साथ, so this is where demand and supply meet. Right? And this is your consumer surplus. Right? So you always input the quantity which is at the equilibrium quantity. It was an unexpected question. माने CUET के लेवल के कंपैरिजन में थोड़ा ऊपर का क्वेश्चन है. This is the formula of consumer surplus in this question. Absolutely, yes. This is the general formula of consumer surplus. Not in this question, in any question. इसमें हम ये फॉलो क्यों नहीं करते? क्योंकि एक लीनियर कर्व है तो हमें सीधा एक ट्रायंगल मिल जाता है. बट इसमें भी I can solve it using this formula. Right? So this is the general formula of consumer surplus. Whether it is linear, quadratic, cubic, कुछ भी demand curve क्यों ना हो, you integrate the demand curve and subtract price into quantity. माने you subtract the rectangle जो नीचे बन रहा है. Clear? Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. Question number 2. So let's read it out. Tell me what the answer to this question should be. The Pareto optimal criteria implies fulfillment of the following conditions except तो कौन सा condition fulfill नहीं हो रहा है? The marginal rate of transformation between two goods is equal to MRS between those two goods. So is this correct? Is the first statement correct? It is correct. Yes. So this is a true statement. ये वो statement है बेटा जो तब आती है when we go ahead and when we combine production and consumption. तो जब हम प्रोडक्शन एंड कंजम्पशन को कंबाइन कर देते हैं, when we combine the two, then we go ahead and we get that the marginal rate of transformation which is coming from the production side should be equal to the MRS which is coming from the consumption side. And हमें पता है that at Pareto efficiency the MRS of individual A and the MRS of individual B should be equal. यही है मेरा पेरेटो एफिशिएंसी का कंडीशन. These two should be equal to each other, right? So that is the correct one. Okay, now look at the second one. The economy is operating in its production possibility frontier. That is also true. Again, this is coming from the production side, that whenever the economy will operate, you will always be on your production possibility frontier. माने अगर मुझे economy and consumer को if I have to combine them together also, so this is my production possibility frontier and this is my IC. ठीक है. Sometimes I can also draw a general IC. माने ये मेरा this indifference curve can represent the indifference curve of society as a whole. And we know what this is called. इसको हम social welfare function बोल देते हैं. Right? So when I am taking all individuals, usually what we assume is that the individuals may be the same. ठीक है. तो अगर सपोज मेरे सोसाइटी में देर आर 10 इंडिविजुअल्स एंड ये सारे इंडिविजुअल्स दे आर द सेम, माने इनका यूटिलिटी फंक्शन भी सेम है, इनकी प्रेफरेंसेस एवरीथिंग इज द सेम, देन वी पिक एनी वन इंडिविजुअल एंड वी कॉल दैट इंडिविजुअल एज रिप्रेजेंटेटिव कंज्यूमर. उसको हम रिप्रेजेंटेटिव इंडिविजुअल बोल देते हैं. राइट. एंड हम उसी का यूटिलिटी फंक्शन के साथ वर्क कर लेते हैं. So you would always read the statement, the utility function of the representative individual is. ऐसा हम लिखते हैं. क्यों लिखते हैं ऐसा? Because we assume कि all these individuals are the same. तो किसी एक इंडिविजुअल के साथ when you go ahead and work, when you work with one individual, it's working with the society as a whole. So we take sometimes we take a representative utility function. माने हम ऐसा utility function ले रहे हैं which represents the utility of all. And then we take the production possibility frontier and we work with the tangency. Right? We work with the tangency condition. So production possibility frontier की slope को we can call MRT, marginal rate of transformation. And इसके slope को we can call MRS. Right? So that is condition number 1 जो हमने पढ़ी है. So this is definitely a true statement. Look at the third one. Production technique embody the most efficient technology. Of course, since you are on the production possibility frontier, you are using the most efficient possible, right? Points below PPF, they are inefficient. Above PPF, they are not achievable, not attainable. तो points on the PPF ही तो हैं जो attainable हैं, right? Income is distributed fairly among all individuals. This is very, very important to understand. Very important point. कि why this is false, right? So see, Pareto efficiency does not address fairness or equity of income distribution. Pareto efficiency को in terms से fairness, equity, इन चीजों से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. It has got nothing to do with these terms. और इसको हम कैसे समझ सकते हैं? How we can understand this thing? Just take this Edgeworth box. और यहां पर मुझे एक बात बताओ, इफ आई एम एट ओरिजिन ऑफ इंडिविजुअल ए एंड ओरिजिन ऑफ इंडिविजुअल बी, और हम दोनों इंडिविजुअल को नॉर्मल मानते हैं, माने वी कंसिडर देम एज हैविंग कॉब-डॉगलस प्रेफरेंसेस. हाँ, तो हमने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कर्व कैसा बनाया था? हाउ वाज माय कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कर्व? ऐसा. माने दिस पॉइंट एंड दिस पॉइंट एंड दिस पॉइंट एंड दिस पॉइंट, ये सारे पॉइंट्स पेरेटो एफिशिएंट पॉइंट्स थे. Isn't it? Contract curve was passing from origin of A till origin of B. अब अगर हम origin of A का बात करें, if I talk about this point, तो we notice that A has no consumption of the two goods. क्योंकि हम तो ए के ओरिजिन पर हैं, तो ए इज नॉट गेटिंग एनीथिंग, ए के पास कुछ भी नहीं है। एंड इफ आई लुक हियर ओरिजिन ऑफ बी, देन बी हैज नो कंजम्पशन ऑफ द टू गुड्स, बी के पास कुछ नहीं है, राइट? तो we understand that even though this is very unequal distribution, and we understand कि ये भी बहुत unequal distribution है A and B वाला, because we notice कि इस point पे everything is with individual A with B, और यहाँ पर everything is with A, B के पास कुछ नहीं है, yet they are Pareto efficient. So Pareto efficiency has got nothing to do with fairness, nothing to do with equity, इन सब से मतलब नहीं है। हाँ, द रोल ऑफ गवर्नमेंट इज इंपॉर्टेंट देयरफॉर, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट कैन रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूट इनकम, और वही सेकेंड वेलफेयर थ्योरम है कि गवर्नमेंट कैन रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूट द इनकम ऑफ इंडिविजुअल एंड इंश्योर कंपेटिटिव इक्विलिब्रियम कैन बी अटेन्ड एट अ पेरेटो एफिशिएंट पॉइंट, राइट? बट जनरली स्पीकिंग कोई एक पेरेटो एफिशिएंट पॉइंट फेयर हो वो जरूरी नहीं है, वो बहुत अनफेयर डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हो सकता है, right? So income is distributed fairly among individuals. This is a false statement. Is it clear? So answer will be 4. All of you who are saying 4 is correct. Okay, come to the next question. Question number 3. Look at this. Try to answer this one, all of you. Four. Okay. Are all answers 4 only? Okay. So let's see. The export of good of a country G has growth rate of A by T, and its export of service has growth rate of B by T. What is the growth rate of its total export? Very good question. ठीक है, तो how do we define growth rate? देखो ध्यान से, the growth rate of anything can be defined. So कोई भी एक वेरिएबल ले लेते हैं, growth rate of variable x naught. It can be defined as how this variable changes over time divided by the original value of the variable. Can you tell me in the chat कि what is dx naught by dt called बेटा? इसको क्या बोलते हैं? Anyone? What is dx naught by dt called? अगर मुझे सिर्फ न्यूमरेटर देखना हो तो इसको मैं क्या बोल सकती हूँ? No. Think. Change of variable as time changes, okay, but what is that word called? Marginal change, instantaneous change. Okay. So I hope, see, this is where it is important that you read Sitter and Hammond completely, क्योंकि वहां पे ये सारे डेफिनेशंस को हम डिटेल में एक बार ही पढ़ते हैं, राइट? So just try to understand. So if I go back to maths, एक मिनट के लिए थोड़ा देख लेते हैं. The instantaneous rate of change is how fast the function changes at a specific point of time. Okay, so all of you who are saying instantaneous rate of change, that is the correct answer, right? A lot of times, right, you will notice that, so because I am doing dx not by dt, माने I am just finding the derivative of the function, x naught को differentiate तो कर रहे हैं with respect to time. So many times the definition of instantaneous rate of change becomes that we are just finding the derivative of a function with respect to time. और जब हम उसको उसका ओरिजिनल वैल्यू से डिवाइड करते हैं तो then we go ahead and we find its average rate of change क्योंकि we have divided it by its original value, right? And this is very important. ये हम econometrics में बहुत ज्यादा define करते हैं दोनों चीजों को. When we go ahead and when we study the chapter of functional forms, ये दो चीजें हम define करके चलते हैं. So only the numerator, all of you who mentioned it as instantaneous rate of change is the correct answer. Okay. So we can say that the growth rate is the average rate of change of a variable. Instantaneous divided by its original value. ठीक है. इसी चीज को, इसी ग्रोथ रेट को we can go ahead and we can also represent this as d ln x naught by dx naught. Sorry, by dt, not x naught, by dt. So जब हम log of x naught को differentiate करते हैं with respect to time, because how do we differentiate log? Log में क्या, what is the property of log? That it will be 1 by x naught dx naught by dt, isn't it? So then this will become dx naught by dt by x naught. So we can also rewrite this as this. Okay. Now the question goes ahead and mentions that the growth rate of the goods is a by t, right? And how do we write the growth rate of goods? Suppose this growth rate of good, this is a by t, right? And it says that the growth rate of export of service is b by t. So the growth rate of service is b by t. Now it is asking you what is the growth rate of export as a whole. So export will be export of good plus services. Okay, export of good plus services. Now when we go ahead and we want to find the growth rate of export, it will be dx by dt, right? Upon x. ये है growth rate of export. ये value मुझे निकालना है, right? So what I will do is, first, excuse me, I will differentiate this function with respect to t. So I will get dx by dt is equal to dg by dt plus ds by dt, right? Now what I want to do, I want divided by x because then it will become growth rate of export. So I will divide both left and right side by x. अब ये जो वैल्यू है, this will become growth rate of export. And I can write this as 1 by x dg by dt plus 1 by x ds by dt. ठीक है. I know that the growth rate of only good is given as a by t. माने I know that dg by dt divided by g, सिर्फ growth rate of goods जो है वो मुझे a by t दिया हुआ है. So I know that dg by dt, if I have to find the numerator, I can take this here. It will go ahead and become a by t into g. Similarly, I can go ahead and I can say here that ds by dt divided by s is b by t. So I can take this here and get ds by dt will be s into b by t. I can just replace this thing here and I can say that this will be 1 by x a by t into g plus 1 by x s into b by t. Okay. So this is how you can go ahead and you can solve this question. Now you can just simplify this. AG plus BS by this. Okay. So this is how this kind of questions can be solved. Is it making sense? Is it clear? Okay. So quickly, all of you solve this question before we move ahead. Y is equal to A x to the power alpha x2 to the power beta. If growth rate of y is 4%, growth rate of x1 is 2%, growth rate of x2 is 1%, alpha equal to beta equal to 0.5, find growth rate of A. Solve it. You can put x as g plus s, correct. It depends on which option you want to choose. Depending on that, whichever is matching, you can simplify accordingly. Correct. Solve this question now. Okay. How about this? Quick. Okay, so let's see. So whenever you are given this kind of Cobb-Douglas function, right, you simply know that the product in terms of growth will convert into addition. Mane growth rate of y will become growth rate of A plus alpha growth rate of x1 plus beta growth rate of x2. Simple. Mane there is no wo ki you can definitely go ahead and you can definitely solve this by taking log, but you should always know this property. Okay. So growth rate of y is 4%, so 0.04. Growth rate of A I don't know. Alpha is 0.5. Growth rate of x1 is 2% and beta is 0.5. Growth rate of x2 is 1%. Just find out GA. So 0.04 minus 0.5, 0.02 minus 0.5, 0.01. Whatever answer you get here, that will be the answer to this question. Okay, fine. So come on, let's go on to the next question. Question number 4. Which of the following statement is not correct? Okay. Read out the options. If fx is quasi-concave, then minus fx is quasi-convex. If fx is linear, then it is quasi-concave and quasi-convex. Any concave function is quasi-concave, converse is not true. Any convex function is quasi-convex, but converse also holds. What will be the answer to question number 4? Okay. Okay, yes, all of you who are saying it as 4, that is the correct answer to this question. Correct. So, what is a formal definition of quasi-convex function? I'll take it here. What is a formal definition of quasi-convex function? It says that any function which goes from Rn to R, this function is quasi-convex, right? If the following property is satisfied, f of lambda x plus 1 minus lambda y is less than equal to max fx fy. If this property is satisfied, then the function is called as a quasi-convex function. अब देखो यहाँ पे lambda x plus 1 minus lambda y माने I am taking a weighted average of x and y. So we are saying कि हमने 2 पॉइंट्स लिए, एक पॉइंट x लिया, पॉइंट y लिया, और उनको अलग अलग वेट देके हर पॉसिबल पॉइंट बनाया, right? And we found out the value of that function at every possible point. If that value is less than the maximum of these two, of fx and fy, means all values of the weightage average, they lie less, they lie lower than the maximum of these two, right? So suppose I go ahead and if I say, suppose my function is going like this, right? I have fx here and I have fy here, right? The maximum of fx and fy is fy. I take different combinations of x and y. ठीक है, मैंने यहाँ पे x के कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फंक्शन का वैल्यू रहा होगा, यहाँ पे y के कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फंक्शन का वैल्यू रहा होगा. I take all possible combinations of x and y. All possible combinations. So x and y को मैंने अलग अलग वेटेज देके I found out all the different combinations. And when I found out the value of the function at those points, all those lie lower than this. सब इससे नीचे, all those are lower. Then it is a quasi-convex function, right? So there is another way in which we define it. I hope all of you, literally, I have recorded this in very, very detail. It's, I think, a 1-hour video which only talks about what is quasi-convexity, concavity in much detail. I have taken all possible definitions. Today itself, it is a homework for all of you. If you have not had a look at it, please look at that video lecture. And if you're not able to locate it, post it in the Telegram group today itself. It's a homework for today. But I want you to be very, very aware of all possible definitions of quasi-concavity and quasi-convexity, right? It is in the math section. Okay, so you have to go ahead and tell me if you are not able to have a look at it. I will help you locate it. But I want all of you to do this for today. Okay? All possible definitions have been covered. So what is quasi-convexity? A function is quasi-convex if all its lower contour sets are convex, right? So a lower contour set is all x such that the value of the function is less than equal to some alpha. And if all these are convex, then the function is called quasi-convex. That's the second definition that we have, right? So now, if I go back to this, right, it says which of the following statement is not correct? Any convex function is quasi-convex. It's true. But its converse also holds. That is a false statement. So yes, all of you are correct. The answer will be 4. If you want, I can take 1-day marathon on this topic to make it more clear, right? So we can take probably on Monday a session and we can only do on quasi-concavity and convexity. Okay, take it. We'll take it in detail. The next session after matrix and determinants, we'll take one on this. Okay, done. Okay, next question. Do this one. Let me know the answer to this one. Okay. Assuming that the production function is homogeneous of degree 1. So when I write Q is equal to L to the power alpha, K to the power beta, degree 1 homogeneity means alpha plus beta must have been 1. And the Euler's equation holds true. If marginal product of labor is greater than marginal product of capital, greater than average product of labor, then which of the following will be true? So for this, we can go ahead and we can make a graph probably, right? And we can see first how the functions look. So if I just generally speak of the relation between MPL and APL, if this is my marginal product of labor, this will be my average product of labor, right? This is a general relationship. When my average product of labor is maximum, average product of labor and marginal product of labor become equal to each other. In this region, we notice that the marginal product of labor is greater than average product of labor and average product of labor is increasing. In this region, we notice the marginal product of labor is less than average product of labor and average product of labor is decreasing. Right? This is the general relationship. Now the question is saying that the marginal product of labor is greater than the average product of labor. This, right? The question is asking then which of the following will be true. Now the interesting point here is that it has given a 2 input function, right? It's not a single input function. Whatever I have drawn here, law of diminishing marginal product, this is when we have single input. So I'm going to first look at the single inputs and check if anything of that holds true or not. So we notice that when marginal product of labor is greater than average product, the average product of labor is increasing. And we also notice that the marginal product is positive. So the marginal product of labor is positive. So which means it is not negative. So ये तो incorrect हो गया. This is false. Right? Marginal product of labor negative, ये भी incorrect हो गया. So this is also false. Now I am left up with 2 options, option 2 and 3. So now I need to evaluate what happens to the second input, right? So what we can do is we can go ahead and we can go to Euler's equation because it said that Euler's theorem holds true, equation holds true. right? So for any constant returns to scale production function, constant returns to scale means where I am talking about alpha plus beta 1 is holding true. We know that there is something which is known as product exhaustion theorem. The product exhaustion theorem suggests that whatever our output is, that is completely distributed among labor and capital. माने output will be equal to labor into marginal product of labor plus capital into marginal product of capital, right? So now if I divide by labor on both sides, I will get average product of labor is equal to marginal product of labor plus K by L marginal product of capital. If I can take this here, I will get average product of labor minus marginal product of labor is equal to K by L into marginal product of capital. Now it is given to me that marginal product of labor is more than average product of labor. So it means that if I take this here, average product of labor minus marginal product of labor will be negative. It will be less than 0. So the left hand side of this equation, this is negative. It means the right hand side should also be negative because there is an equal to sign. So this should also be negative. Now capital and labor cannot be negative. ये term तो negative नहीं हो सकता. So to make this term negative, we understand that the marginal product of capital must be negative. Only then the right hand side will become negative. सिर्फ तब वो negative होगी. So the right answer to this question should be that it should be negative. So answer is 3. Correct. All of you who answered it as 3 is the correct answer. Is it clear? Any doubt in this? This is the complete evaluation of this answer. Let me know if there is any doubt. Any doubt, anyone? Okay. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. Try to do that yourself first. Question number 6. Which of the following is incorrect about the problem of externalities? They may be reciprocal or unidirectional. They refer to interdependence between parties that operate outside the price mechanism. They may be marginal or inframarginal. The process of internalization of the negative externality requires both parties must gain. बताओ इनमें से कौन सा आंसर करेक्ट है? Okay, so let's see. First, they may be reciprocal or unidirectional. माने या तो दोनों तरफ से हो सकती है या एक तरफ से हो सकती है. This is true. I'll give you a very simple example to this. Huh? So just imagine that usually it happens on just 31st of December. इसमें बहुत problem रहता है. Just imagine that one of your neighbor is playing very loud music. ठीक है? And that is disturbing you a lot. तो ये तो हो गई unidirectional externality, one directional externality, that they're playing very loud music and it is creating disturbance for you. अब इसका रिवर्स देखते हैं. Let's say that you are doing a party at your house. You are also doing very loud music. Your neighbor is doing a party. They are also doing very loud music. And you are causing disturbance to them. उनको अपना म्यूजिक नहीं सुनाई दे रहा and they are causing disturbance to you. Right? Or just imagine in your house, you are put in your room and you're playing some movie, and just in the next room your parents are watching some other show and you are not able to concentrate on your movie, wahan se awaaz aa raha hai, and the other way. So it can be both direction. माने it can be a reciprocal one also. दोनों एक दूसरे को भी disturb कर सकते हैं. right? So this is correct, इसमें कोई problem नहीं है, this statement is fine. They refer to interdependence between party that exist outside price mechanism. Yes, that is why it is called a market failure, क्योंकि price mechanism का तो कोई role ही नहीं है, there is no role of price mechanism, right? So this is also correct. They may be marginal or infra marginal, ये भी correct है. So if you notice, huh, where do we go ahead and where do we find the solution to externality? We just did in one of the recent marathons. क्या इक्विलिब्रियम कंडीशन रहता है एक्सटर्नैलिटी का? हाँ, सो वी सॉल्व इट वेयर सोशल मार्जिनल बेनिफिट इज इक्वल टू सोशल मार्जिनल कॉस्ट, है ना? सो माने प्राइवेट मार्जिनल बेनिफिट प्लस एक्सटर्नल बेनिफिट इज इक्वल टू प्राइवेट मार्जिनल कॉस्ट प्लस एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट, right? Depending on positive या negative externality, both of these can be handled well when we go ahead and when we talk about this formula. माने अगर पॉजिटिव एक्सटर्नैलिटी होगा तो एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट विल बी जीरो, और अगर नेगेटिव एक्सटर्नैलिटी होगा तो एक्सटर्नल बेनिफिट विल बी जीरो. सो बोथ ऑफ दीज कैन बी वेरी वेल हैंडल्ड थ्रू वन ऑफ दिस one formula. एक ही formula है, but both can be handled. So yes, when we talk about externalities, they can be marginal in nature, right? Marginal in nature माने it can go ahead and it can be defined per unit, राइट? सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल जब हम वो भी करते हैं द पॉल्यूशन एग्जाम्पल, उसमें हम बोलते हैं ना कि पर यूनिट द एक्सटर्नल कॉस्ट इज दिस मच, राइट? सो यस, इट कैन बी मार्जिनल इन नेचर, देयर इज नथिंग इनकरेक्ट अबाउट इट. Now think about inframarginal. So what is inframarginal? Inframarginal refers to any unit, any agent that lies inside the margin, not at the margin, but inside the margin. So marginal होता है the cost of extra one unit, the benefit from extra one unit. और inframarginal होता है all earlier unit. तो हम earlier units का भी तो बता सकते हैं कि what has been the external cost of earlier units, external cost of the external benefit of the earlier units, right? So yes, we can talk about inframarginal also and we can talk about marginal also. Both of them can be told for any externality problem. So this is also correct, इसमें कोई problem नहीं है. This is also the right option. The process of internalization of the negative externality requires that both parties must gain. False. And iska example again is that pollution example, right? So you remember कि हमने बोला था कि जिसके पास भी property rights होगी, they will be the one who will gain in the process of solving the problem of externality, right? So we defined the property rights. Internalization basically means how we go ahead and how we resolve the problem of externality by making the problem internal to the organization. ठीक है? जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम बोलते हैं कि अच्छा ठीक है, अगर ये इंडिविजुअल ए है एंड ही इज कॉजिंग पॉल्यूशन एंड इसकी वजह से इंडिविजुअल बी को फर्क पड़ रहा है, सो यू कंबाइन देम एंड मेक देम इनटू वन कंपनी, मेक देम अ वन फर्म, right? You cause collusion of the firm, right? Yeah, you go ahead and you say कि I am defining property rights and अब से ये जो river है ये firm B को belong करता है. So internalization can be through taxes, it can be through collusion. Basically हम क्या करते हैं, we are trying to resolve the problem of externality. Externality का क्या मतलब है? External, outside, कोई उसको consider नहीं कर रहा है. Internalizing माने we are making them consider the externality. Huh? So internalization can be done through Pigovian tax. Internalization can be done by combining the firms together, by defining the property rights, जो हम Coase theorem में पढ़ते हैं. So in that both parties may not gain. ठीक है? एक को लॉस होगा, एक को बेनिफिट भी हो सकता है. So the answer to this one is 4. 4 is the incorrect statement. Okay, do this question now. Question number 7. Give it a try. Emission fee, cap and trade. Absolutely. That is correct. Go ahead. Give next question a try. Give the answer to this one. Okay, let's solve. The marginal cost curve is given as this, and fixed cost is this. Find the total cost function. Okay, so tell me something. What is total cost? I can say that total variable cost plus total fixed cost will be my total cost function. माने whenever जो भी मैं लिखूं, जो भी मैं total cost function बनाऊंगी, whatever total cost function I will be making, it will definitely have a fixed cost component attached to it. This will definitely happen. Now, what is marginal cost? Marginal cost can be found by differentiating the total cost function as output changes, right? So if I differentiate this will be differentiation of total variable cost plus differentiation of total fixed cost. But fixed cost is fixed. Fixed cost cannot change as output changes. हो तो fixed है, वो कैसे change होगी अगर output change होगा? So माने ये तो zero है. So total, तो ये जो marginal cost है, इसको हम ये भी बोल सकते हैं that it is differentiation of total variable cost with respect to output. So if marginal cost is differentiation of total variable cost with respect to output, then can I go ahead and can I say that total variable cost will be integration of marginal cost? We can go ahead and we can say that, right? So I want all of you to go ahead and to integrate this function. This is one way of doing it. So you integrate. What is your marginal cost, beta? Marginal cost is 2 e to the power 0.2 q dq. Now, 90% of the students, 99% of the students have made this mistake. Hi, am I audible now? Okay, something happened. I don't know. Got logged off from Zoom. Okay, so I was saying that most of the students make this mistake. And what mistake is that? That you have to understand that when we are integrating this, this integration is not bounded. This integration is not bounded. और इसका क्या मतलब है? इसका मतलब ये है कि when I integrate, so remember, when I integrate x square dx, but there is no lower and upper bound, there is no limit, तो इसका integration will be x cube by 3 plus c. And when I integrate x square, say between 1 to 2, so then this will be x cube by 3 from 1 to 2. Is it making sense? Then you put the values directly. So most of the students last year, they did this mistake. And what mistake ki unhone plus c nahi kiya, right? And therefore their answer was wrong. So let's go ahead and let's try to solve this question correctly. Even now all of you have answered it incorrectly. तो हम इसको solve करेंगे. So my cost will be integration of this function. What the function is? 2 into e to the power 0.2q plus fixed cost. When I will integrate this, I will get e to the power 0.2q divided by 0.2 plus c plus fixed cost, right? Plus c plus fixed cost. Okay. Now, fixed cost का एक property रहता है. And the property of fixed cost is that when output is 0, then my cost is equal to fixed cost. My cost at 0 units of output is my fixed cost. So we know that when I would plug 0, I should get the answer as 75. When I plug 0, I should get the answer as 75. So ये मेरा total cost function है. I understand this thing. This is my total cost function. Now in this cost function, when I plug 0, I should get the answer as 75. क्योंकि ये fixed cost की property है. Right? So let me plug 0 here. So 2 upon 0.2 e to the power 0.2 into 0 plus some number. ये भी constant है, ये भी constant है. So total constant. This should give me 75. Right? So I will go ahead and I will get 10 e to the power 0 plus c naught is 75. So c naught will come as 65. C naught was this total value. This is 65. So it means my total cost function becomes 10 e to the power 0.2q plus 65. This is the answer to this question. So, okay, I'll answer the confusion. देखो क्या किया है. इसके साथ एक कांस्टेंट c आया जब इंटीग्रेट किया और एक फिक्स्ड कॉस्ट वाला कांस्टेंट तो था ही. ठीक है. हमने क्या किया, हमने बोला कि ये कोई एक टोटल कांस्टेंट रहा होगा जिसको मैंने सी नॉट नाम दे दिया. ठीक है. मेरा टोटल कॉस्ट फंक्शन ये है जिसमें से मुझे अभी इस पूरी चीज का वैल्यू निकालना है. बट दे हैव टोल्ड मी कि जो हमारा आउटपुट 0 है उस टाइम पे कॉस्ट है वो 75 है. सो आई प्लग्ड आउटपुट एज 0 एंड आई इक्वेटेड इट टू 75. उससे मुझे इस पूरा कांस्टेंट का वैल्यू मिल गया सी नॉट का. ये 10 e टू द पावर 0, e टू द पावर 0, एनीथिंग टू द पावर 0 इज 1. सो ये है 10 प्लस सी नॉट equal to 75. So I got that this C naught is 65. If this is confusing, अगर ये ऐसे confusing लग रहा है तो आप सिंपल सोचो कि जब हम अपने मार्जिनल कॉस्ट को इंटीग्रेट करेंगे तो हमें टोटल कॉस्ट मिलेगा. सिंपल ऐसे सोचो. ठीक है. और मुझे इंटीग्रेट करना है 2e⁻0.2q को टू गेट द टोटल कॉस्ट. जब मैं इसको इंटीग्रेट करती हूं तो मुझे इंटीग्रेट करने के बाद आंसर मिलता है 10e⁻0.2q प्लस c इक्वल टू टोटल कॉस्ट. मुझे इस c का वैल्यू पहले निकालना पड़ेगा. तो देन आई यूज द प्रॉपर्टी कि अच्छा जब आउटपुट 0 है तो टोटल कॉस्ट 75 है. उससे मेरे को ये c का वैल्यू मिल जाएगा. दिस इज व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू डू हियर. Yes, you can do that also. Both are fine. That is what the point is. कि whether you integrate total cost या total variable cost, both are fine. क्योंकि fixed cost का differentiation is zero, right? So that is what we started with. So marginal cost is differentiation of total cost with respect to output, which is nothing but differentiation of this plus this. But इसका differentiation zero हो जाता है. So whether I differentiate total cost with respect to output या variable cost with respect to output, both will give me marginal cost. Both are fine. दोनों को ही differentiate करके marginal cost मिल जाता है. You just have to remember यहाँ का ट्रिक क्या है कि जब हम मार्जिनल कॉस्ट को इंटीग्रेट करेंगे तो जो भी आंसर आएगा उसमें प्लस सी लिखना है. दैट इज व्हाट द ट्रिक इज हियर. सिर्फ वो मार्जिनल कॉस्ट को इंटीग्रेट नहीं करना है. यू हैव टू राइट अ प्लस सी टू शो कि एक कांस्टेंट भी इन्वॉल्व्ड होगा. दैट इज व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. where we subtracted 10, this 10, ये जो 10 है this goes on the other side, no? I'll do it again. अगर कुछ भी confusion है let me do it again. So you are given कि एक marginal cost function है. ये marginal cost function आपको दिया हुआ है. I will not introduce अलग अलग C plus FC ऐसा नहीं करते. So you have a marginal cost function which is 2e⁻0.2q. Step 1, I am going ahead and integrating this marginal cost function. जब हम इसको integrate करेंगे I will go ahead and get 2. Integration of e⁻0.2q will be this as it is divided by जो भी इसका power है उसका coefficient plus c. तो इसका इंटीग्रेशन हमें देगा 10 e⁻0.2q plus c. To avoid any confusion, आप simply समझ लो कि total cost can be found by integrating the marginal cost function. ये हमारा step 1 हो गया. Step 2, it is given that the fixed cost is 0. माने when I put quantity as, sorry, fixed cost is 75. माने when I put quantity as 0, तो उस टाइम पे जो मेरा टोटल कॉस्ट का वैल्यू होगा वो 75 होना चाहिए. क्यों? क्योंकि इट्स अ प्रॉपर्टी दैट व्हेन क्वांटिटी इज 0 देन टोटल कॉस्ट एंड फिक्स्ड कॉस्ट आर इक्वल एंड टोटल वेरिएबल कॉस्ट इज 0. ये प्रॉपर्टी है, राइट? सो यू रिमेंबर हमने ऐसा डायग्राम बनाया था. दिस वाज माय टोटल वेरिएबल कॉस्ट, दिस वाज माय टोटल कॉस्ट एंड ये मेरा फिक्स्ड कॉस्ट था. सो एट दिस पॉइंट जब क्वांटिटी जीरो होता है, सो दीज टू आर इक्वल, टोटल कॉस्ट एंड फिक्स्ड कॉस्ट दे आर इक्वल टू ईच अदर. माने इन दिस फंक्शन when I will go ahead and I will put quantity as zero, जब मैं यहाँ पे e के साथ I'll plug this as zero, तो मेरे को जो आंसर मिलना चाहिए टोटल कॉस्ट का, दैट शुड बी सेम एज द फिक्स्ड कॉस्ट. आई शुड गेट दिस एज 75. So I get 75 is equal to 10. E to the power 0 is just 1 plus c. So it means I get 75 is equal to 10 plus c. So I get c as 65. c का वैल्यू 65 आ गया. बस उस c को मैं यहाँ पे प्लग इन कर रही हूँ इन दिस फंक्शन. सो आई गेट 10 e to the power 0.2 q plus 65 and this becomes my total cost function. This can be a way to explain this. Tell me if you still have a doubt. Any doubt, anyone? Is it clear? Can I move ahead? Okay, go on to the next question. Which of the following is excluded from headline inflation to arrive at core inflation? Which of the following is excluded from headline inflation to arrive at core inflation? Okay, all of you are correct. That is the correct answer. Answer will be 1. Energy prices. ठीक है. So core inflation में you avoid all volatile components. Right? दो volatile components होते हैं. One is food and other is energy. So you avoid these. ठीक है, क्योंकि ये बहुत volatile होते हैं and they do not give you the correct indication about inflation. Therefore, core inflation excludes them. वो इनको include नहीं करता है food and energy prices को. So answer will be 1. Correct. Okay, next. Which of the following is not considered in the calculation of GDP? Yes, all of you are right. तो कभी भी जब हम GDP की बात करते हैं, no second hand good is considered in GDP. हाँ, although second hand good से related, we will go ahead and we will include the services. माने if someone is selling a second hand scooter, ठीक है, बट उसमें किसी को कोई कमीशन दे रहा है, that will be included. But the sale or purchase of second hand good itself will not be included. वो include नहीं होता because those goods were already counted in GDP in the year that they were produced. जिस साल वो प्रोड्यूस हुए होंगे उस साल वो जीडीपी में काउंट हो गए होंगे. They were already counted in GDP in the year that they were produced. Right? So you're right that second hand will not be included. हाँ, C will be included. Brokerage or commission on the purchase of second hand good वो हम include करेंगे. Okay, next question. In the case of classical economics, an increase in nominal money stock causes. Okay, how about others? increase in nominal stock of money. Increase in the level of output, shift in aggregate demand curve to the left, no change in price level, shift in aggregate demand curve to the right. ठीक है. So according to classical economist, सबसे पहले there is neutrality of money. माने MV is equal to PY को हम लिख सकते हैं GM plus GV is equal to GP plus GY, जिसमें we assume that GV is 0 and GY is also 0. So we assume GM is equal to GP. मतलब growth of money is equal to the growth rate of price, जिसको हम inflation बोलते हैं. So if there is an increase in the money, there should be an increase in the price level. Right? It should increase the price level. So no change in price level is incorrect. And classicals ये भी बोलते थे that we are already at full employment level and there will be no real factor change. तो माने output cannot change, so ये incorrect हो गया. Now we have to think about the AD side. So now when we talk about this AD, ये कौन सा aggregate demand है बेटा? This is the aggregate demand you're getting from the IS and LM equation. So we know that when money increases, the LM curve will shift rightwards. And the AD curve will also shift rightwards. क्योंकि जब मनी ज्यादा होगा इकोनॉमी में, when there will be more money, it should go ahead and increase the demand of the commodities, right? So the LM curve will also shift rightwards and AD curve will also shift rightwards. So we can say that the aggregate demand increases and it shifts rightwards, right? तो basically हम इसको कैसे depict कर सकते हैं? How can we depict this? That there is an aggregate supply curve which is already at full employment level, क्योंकि output तो change नहीं हो सकता. This is my P and Y. This is my aggregate demand. When there will be increase in money, it will increase aggregate demand. Aggregate demand will shift rightwards and we will move from equilibrium point A to B. तो माने there will be increase in price. And price उतने से ही increase होगा. Price will increase by the same amount as the increase in the money. तभी तो neutrality of money आएगा. So both of them will change by the same amount. The growth rate of money and the growth rate of price will be equal. ठीक है? Okay. Come to the next question. Try to do this one. Which of the following does not constitute liabilities of the commercial bank in India? Give it a try. Okay, correct. So basically, when we talk, so most of you have answered it correctly. So when we talk about the liabilities of the commercial bank, please try to understand that paid up capital and reserves. Capital always comes. I hope especially the commerce students who have who had class 12th में accounts would know कि capital is always on the left hand side, right? Always on the liability side. Second is time and demand deposit. Huh. Whatever deposit is done by people, you have to return those deposit. जो भी आपके पास पैसा deposit करे आपको उसको वापस करना है. So those deposits, they are a liability for you. Right. Now comes point number 3 and point number 4. Okay. Look at point number 3. It says money at call and short notice. Money at call and short notice. It represents that money which or that fund that the bank has lent to other institutions, right? मनी एट कॉल या मनी एट शॉर्ट नोटिस वो पैसा होता है जो बैंक ने दूसरे इंस्टीट्यूट्स को दिया होता है. सो इट इज नॉट अ लायबिलिटी ऑफ द बैंक, इट रिप्रेजेंट्स एन एसेट ऑफ द बैंक. इट विल गेट इंटरेस्ट ऑन इट, इट विल अर्न मनी ऑन इट, राइट? बोरोइंग, जो पैसा उसने बोरो किया वो तो उसको वापस करना ही है, सो दैट इज ऑल्सो लायबिलिटी. So those who are saying option is 3, that is the correct answer to this question. Money at call or short notice, that will be the right answer. I see there was a mixed opinion on this one, but this will be the right answer to this question. Is it clear? Okay, come to the next question. Three can be money taken from other banks. First of all, no. Whenever we say money at call, it is at call. That means which you gave at call when someone called out that I want money from you. But even if you think like that, ki ma'am nahi, then you can use the method of elimination. So if you look at other three things, reserve and capital is always liability. Capital हमेशा liability होता है आपका. Deposit done by people in your bank will be liability. Your borrowings, जो आपने लोगों कहीं से भी लोन लिया है, जो आपने borrowing, it is not the money you have given out as loan. ये कह रहे हैं borrowings. It means money you have borrowed. वो भी loan है. It's a liability. So option 1, 2 and 4 are definitely liabilities. Right? So you're anyways left up with option 3. So even if you use that method of elimination, sirf option 3 will be left. And always remember that method of elimination is a very good technique to find out the right answer in many cases. Okay, come to the next question. Which of the following is not correct about the effect of tax on income and output? Give it a try. Income tax lower the multiplier effect. Inclusion of taxes makes aggregate demand curve steeper and hence increases multiplier. Income tax reduces induced increase of consumption. Swing in investment demand have smaller effect on output when automatic stabilizer are in place. You have to tell not correct. I don't think CUT is easy, huh? You see the level of questions that have been asked here. Okay. So let's see. income tax lowers the multiplier effect. So without tax, multiplier is this. I'm thinking about proportionate tax. Okay. With the tax, multiplier is this. Right. So yes, option number 1 is correct. And to see this, you can also take some values. Take C as 0.9 and tax rate as 0.1. कुछ values लेके देख लो. So इस case में you will get the answer as 1 minus 0.9, 1 upon 0.1, that means 10. And इस case में you will get the answer as 1 upon 1 minus 0.9. In tax rate is 0.1, na? So 0.9. 1 upon 0.19, and you will get some answer here, approximately 5 point something आएगा, है ना? So it means the multiplier value will fall due to the coming up of tax. So answer ये वाला correct है. अब दूसरा देखो. Inclusion of tax makes aggregate demand curve steeper and hence increases the value of the multiplier. Option B to automatically incorrect. I don't even have to solve for it because it is saying that it is increasing the multiplier. But taxes decrease the value of multiplier. So B is incorrect. So all of you who have answered the answer as 2, that will be the right answer. It does not increase multiplier. It decreases the value of multiplier. Right? Okay. So I want you guys to go ahead and as a homework, evaluate these in detail. We'll go on to the next question. Which of the following is not correct about residential investment? Anyone? Which of the following is not correct about residential investment? Okay. It depends on net return obtained by owning a house. This is true. How much investment? So whenever you do any kind of investment, जब हम कोई भी investment करते हैं, we find out something which is known as net present value, which evaluates the returns versus the cost. And if this NPV is positive only, then we do that kind of investment. सिर्फ तब हम वो investment करते हैं. So definitely we look at the return. We notice if the return is positive or not. कोई भी investment करने से पहले you will look at the return. And only when the return will be positive, you will go ahead and you will do that kind of investment. So there is nothing wrong in this. It is a correct statement that we will look at the net return of this investment. Second statement देखते हैं. It goes ahead and it says the combination of high nominal interest rate and high inflation strongly encourages housing investment. What about this statement? High nominal interest rate. See, whenever you do this kind of investment, you are taking a loan. When you take a loan, जब भी आप loan लोगे, you will be better off when there will be high inflation. We have proved this thing, I think, in the chapter of intertemporal. I don't remember. Micro में कौन से chapter में? Maybe intertemporal only. We have proved it. that whenever you have high inflation and you are a lender, someone who is giving out loan, you will be worse off. But whenever you are a borrower, you will be better off. क्योंकि in the real terms, you will be paying less. So whenever there is inflation in the economy, right, and you take a loan, then in the long run, in the real terms, you end up paying lesser interest on that loan, right? So when you pay lesser in real interest on the loan, automatically your investment becomes successful, right? So whenever you have a high inflation rate, that strongly encourages you to do housing investment, right? You can also go ahead and you can also think it like this. So consider R as I minus pi, right? Take two examples. Example one, where inflation interest rate is 10, but inflation is 9. So you have R only as 1%. The real interest you are giving is only 1%. And example number two, where your inflation is only 4 and interest rate is high, so your real return becomes high. The real interest rate you're paying becomes high. तो अगर ये दोनों ही हाई हैं, बट ये रियल रिटर्न, जो रियल इंटरेस्ट रेट हम पे कर रहे हैं वो लो है, तो इट इज अ वेरी गुड investment for me, right? So this is also fine. There is no problem with this one. The demand for housing is insensitive to nominal interest rate. वो तो नहीं है. It will be sensitive to the nominal interest rate also ना, क्योंकि nominal interest rate will determine the real interest rate. So it cannot be insensitive. अगर nominal interest rate कल को 10 की जगह 30 हो जाए, हाँ, and inflation 9 ही रहे, so your real interest rate will increase. So your investments will decrease because loan will become expensive. So you cannot be insensitive to nominal interest rate because nominal will determine the real. So this is a false statement. So answer will be 3. It should be 3. So all of you who have answered it, 3 is correct. Okay. Come to the next question. Try to answer this one. Okay, how about others? Hey, there cannot be two answers. 2 and 3 क्या है? It's either 2 or 3. Okay. The following are the reason for firm to hold stock of inventory except to meet future demand of goods. हाँ, future demand के लिए तो आप inventories रखते ही हो. It is more costly for a firm to order goods less frequently in large quantity than to order smaller quantities frequently. This is clearly a false statement. It says it is more costly for a firm. More costly for a firm to order goods less frequently. मतलब अगर हम एक ही बारे में ज्यादा ज्यादा ऑर्डर करते जाएंगे तो हमें सस्ता पड़ेगा. It will be sorry. तो हमें if we order less frequently it will be more costly. अगर हम कम बारी ऑर्डर करेंगे तो वो ज्यादा कॉस्टली पड़ेगा than to order more quantities frequently. So this is not any reason why I should be keeping stock, right? To smoothen the production process, हाँ, so that there is never a situation कि demand तो है पर उसकी supply नहीं हो पा रही है. So this is making sense. Some inventories are held as unavoidable part of production process, हाँ. So sometimes, for example, if I have a raw material which is coming from US या UK, ठीक है, तो I know that there can be many trade wars, there can be some other situation. तो वो unavoidable part को हटाने के लिए I will already keep the inventories in place, right? So all of you who have answered it too is the correct answer. Commercial bank in India are subject to statutory liquidity ratio requirement. Which of the following is not part of SLR? Try to answer this one. Not a part of SLR. Okay, so let's look here. देखो, SLR means it has to be in statutory liquidity ratio. Mane, it has to be some form of an asset like cash, gold, government securities. ये सब हो सकता है, ठीक है. But SLR cannot include the required reserves. These are the reserves which are your excess reserves, right? Which are kept by the bank in form of asset, cash, gold, etc. Okay. So for this one, the correct answer to this question will be 1. Required reserves. This is the correct answer to this question. Okay. Okay, next question. What is 3? These are simply all kind of government securities. Next. What about 4? So this is just the money that you're keeping with other banks, the deposits you're keeping with other banks. So you're just parking your funds. आप अपने पैसे को अलग रख रहे हो. You're parking those funds, but you're not parking with the Reserve Bank of India, but with any other bank. किसी और बैंक में. So if say bank X opens an account in bank Y and put its fund there, RBI की रखने की जगह, then these are just that funds. Okay, any other doubt in this? Okay. Next question. Which of the following is not correct about the effectiveness of monetary and fiscal policy under perfect capital mobility? Mane, it's a case of one of the cases from Mundell-Fleming model. And it is the most oftenly asked case. Or perfect capital mobility mane, this is my BOP curve. So tell me, ये तो पहले ही हमें पता होना चाहिए from the table, summarized table that we have created in class. So when we have perfect capital mobility, तो दो exchange rate आ जाते हैं. One is fixed exchange rate, one is flexible exchange rate. Then we have effective and non-effective. In the fixed exchange rate, fiscal policy is effective, monetary policy is non-effective. In the flexible exchange rate, monetary policy becomes effective and fiscal policy becomes इनइफेक्टिव। ठीक है, सो इस बेसिस पे इफ आई हैव टू लुक एट द ऑप्शंस गिवन, under fixed exchange rate central bank runs independent monetary policy, this will be false because monetary policy is ineffective. इसको हम एक और तरीके से एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं थ्रू द इम्पॉसिबल ट्रिनिटी। थ्री थिंग्स कैन नॉट बी एवर डन टुगेदर, ये तीन चीजें एक साथ कभी नहीं हो सकती हैं। द फर्स्ट वन इज फिक्स्ड एक्सचेंज रेट, राइट? I'll not write fixed exchange rate. I'll simply say exchange rate rigidity, exchange rate. The second is monetary policy autonomy. Autonomy means freedom, कि क्या हम मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी को यूज कर सकते हैं या नहीं कर सकते हैं, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी ऑटोनॉमी। एंड द थर्ड वन, कैन एनीवन टेल व्हाट्स द थर्ड वन? कैपिटल मोबिलिटी, परफेक्ट कैपिटल मोबिलिटी। ये तीन चीजें एक साथ कभी नहीं हो सकती, एंड दिस इज कॉल्ड एज द इम्पॉसिबल ट्रिनिटी, राइट? सो इफ आई हैव exchange rate rigidity, माने if I have fixed exchange rate and if I have perfect capital mobility, तो I cannot use monetary policy. Monetary policy freedom नहीं रहेगा, right? So the option number 2, it says that under fixed exchange rate, माने this is there and perfect capital mobility is there, ये यहाँ ही दिया हुआ है. Then it says that central bank runs independent monetary policy. No, the third one will not be possible, right? So answer will be 2. So all of you who have said 2 will be the correct answer. ठीक है. Next one, try to answer this one. This. Which of the following is not correct about the steady state equilibrium for economy according to neoclassical growth model? Try to give this one a try. Not possible, huh? Neoclassical माने solo. Just refer to solo model. 1 1 3, okay. तो लॉन्ग रन में सोलो मॉडल का ग्रोथ रेट क्या था? व्हाट वाज डिटरमाइनिंग द ग्रोथ रेट? टेक्नोलॉजी, है ना? एंड व्हाट वाज टेक्नोलॉजी? हमने ग्रोथ रेट को जी से रिप्रेजेंट किया था, टेक्नोलॉजी के ग्रोथ रेट को. एंड व्हाट वाज टेक्नोलॉजी? इट वाज एन एक्सोजेनस फैक्टर, इट वाज डिटरमाइंड आउटसाइड द मॉडल. टेक्नोलॉजी इंटरनल थोड़ी था, टेक्नोलॉजी तो आउटसाइड द मॉडल डिटरमाइन होता है, राइट? सो growth rate being endogenously determined will be incorrect because growth depends on technology and technology is exogenous. Technology is determined outside the model. Model के बाहर का factor है technology. It's not an internal model. So growth rate of output endogenously determined, this is an incorrect statement. राइट. सिमिलरली पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ रेट जिसको हमने एन से रिप्रेजेंट किया था वो भी एक एक्सोजेनस फैक्टर है, राइट? सो द ग्रोथ रेट ऑफ आउटपुट इज इक्वल टू पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ रेट. हाँ, जब टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं होती है, व्हेन देयर इज टेक्नोलॉजी, तो ग्रोथ रेट ऑफ आउटपुट एन प्लस जी था, पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ रेट प्लस टेक्नोलॉजिकल ग्रोथ रेट. एंड जब टेक्नोलॉजिकल ग्रोथ रेट नहीं था, देन इट वाज डिटरमाइंड ओनली बाय पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ रेट. I hope all of you remember that table. नहीं है तो please go back to the lecture and make that table जिसमें हमने किया था depreciation rate only, then population and depreciation rate, then population, depreciation rate and technological growth rate. और यहाँ पे हमने लिया था aggregate output, output per capita and output per effective labor. इसके हमने ग्रोथ रेट्स को बताया था. प्लीज रिवाइज दैट फ्रॉम योर लेक्चर्स ऑन सोलो मॉडल. प्लीज. This is very, very important from your exam point of view. What happens when only depreciation rate is given? What happens when depreciation rate and population growth rate is given? What happens when all three are given? ये बहुत important है lecture के लिए. Okay, so now, second one is correct. The growth rate of output is independent of the savings rate. Yes, this is also true. Because savings has a level effect. Saving का growth effect नहीं होता है, उसका level effect होता है. Per capita GDP and per capita capital are constant. हाँ, steady state पे वो दोनों constant होते हैं. वही तो definition है steady state का. Right? So answer will be 1. Okay, come to the next question. Try this one. Give it a try. And that's the interesting part here. The language will always be confusing. So once you choose any option, you will reconfirm the answer through method of elimination. You will never see me looking at one option, marking it correct and moving to the next one. मैं ऐसा कभी नहीं करती हूँ. Even if I think कि ठीक है, answer 1 is what I should be marking as true, I mean as the correct answer here, I will always look at the other options. Right? So never just choose the right one and move ahead. Look at all 4 options and see why the other 3 should not be marked. Right? So re-verify your answer. That's the only thing we can do in exam. And ये बहुत बहुत मुश्किल है. This is the reason why we were CUET में, even GATE में, IIT में, why we were specifically very concerned about student, क्योंकि हर क्वेश्चन में उन्होंने लिखा था नॉट करेक्ट. करेक्ट नहीं पूछा था, नॉट करेक्ट पूछा था. इट मीन्स यू हैव टू लुक एट ऑल 4 ऑप्शंस टू सी नॉट करेक्ट. Right? So be very careful in these kind of questions. I understand they are very tricky, but each question can affect your ranking. In the solo growth model, the output per capita is a function of. This is very simple. So y is equal to a k to the power alpha l to the power 1 minus alpha. हम क्या करते हैं इस केस में? We divide both side by l. So we get y by l is equal to a k to the power alpha upon l to the power alpha. So we get y by l is equal to a k by l to the power alpha. इसको हम small y लिख लेते हैं. Small y is equal to a small k to the power alpha. So this is called as output per capita. And it is a function of capital per capita. It's a function of capital per capita या capital labor ratio. है ना? Small k is nothing but capital labor ratio. So answer will be 1. Okay, next. If we twice flip a balanced coin, what is the probability of getting at least one head? A very simple question, huh? So At least one head, माने one head भी हो सकता है या two head भी हो सकता है. So we know that there are only four options: HH, HT, TH, TT. At least one head means either one head or two heads. So three out of four. That's it. Right? So answer will be this. Okay. Come to the next one. Suppose that the random variable x takes on the value -1, 0, and 2 with probability 1 by 8, 1 by 2, 3 by 8. Very easy. Find the expected value of x. Okay. So expected value of x can be x px summed up. Right. So it is going to be -1 into 1 by 8 plus 0 into 1 by 2 plus 2 into 3 by 8. So it will be -1 by 8 plus 6 by 8, 5 by 8. So this will be the answer. Okay. Move on to the next question. What is the geometric mean of 2, 4, and 8? Okay. Easy. So 2 into 4 into 8 to the power 1 by 3. So answer will be okay. Last question. Okay, move on. Answer will be 4. That means option number 3. ठीक है, next question पे आते हैं. In correlation analysis, the two variables are treated with distinction, are treated differently based on individual characteristic, are treated symmetrically, are regressed. Symmetrically is the correct answer. Symmetrically माने कि कोई भी किसी पे भी डिपेंडेंट नहीं है. दो इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल है जिनका एक दूसरे के बीच में हम कोरिलेशन निकाल रहे हैं. राइट. सो देयर इज नो डिस्टिंक्शन. ऐसा नहीं है कि एक डिपेंडेंट है और दूसरा उस पे दूसरा इंडिपेंडेंट है. राइट. दैट काइंड ऑफ डिस्टिंक्शन आई एम नॉट मेकिंग. Right. So if you just tell me कि find correlation between x1 and x2, I will not even ask what x1 and x2 are. ठीक है. आप x1 को 1 2 3, x2 को 4 5 6 कर दो या you reverse it, does not matter to me. I am just treating them with equal वो. Right. So answer should be 3. There is no dependence. There is no distinction. So when they say with distinction, माने are you giving them different respect? क्या आप ऐसा बोल रहे हो कि एक की ज्यादा वेटेज है और दूसरे की कम है? Are you going ahead and saying कि variable x1 is more important to me, or are you saying variable x1 is independent and x2 is dependent? No. In correlation, independence, dependence, ये सब matter नहीं करता. Correlation is just a formula to find how closely the variables are related to each other, in which it does not matter कि कौन सा variable क्या है. I am treating them symmetrically. Symmetric means correlation जब हम निकालते हैं तो I can write x1 here and x2 here and find the correlation between them, या x2 here and x1 here and find the correlation between them. Right. But जब हम regression करते हैं, so I am very sure that y is a function of x. So I have to write y here and x here. I cannot change in position. Right. So I am making a distinction while doing regression. But correlation, so that's the statement we always use. कि correlation and causation are different. Correlation में maybe your marks and rainfall जिनमें कोई कोरिलेशन नहीं है, वी मे बी फाइंडिंग कोरिलेशन, इट्स जस्ट अ मैथमेटिकल थिंग. I have to use the formula and find the correlation. It has nothing to do with causation. So the variables don't have any distinction. कोई भी दो variables हो सकते हैं. There is no distinction in the variables, right? They're not treated differently, right? You just give me the value, I will plug it in the formula and give you the answer, right? So they're treated symmetrically. माने उनका symmetricness है. Any of the variable can be taken on x-axis, any can be taken on the y-axis. This is all it means. So answer will be C. Okay, next question. In statistics, standard error measures. Okay. Yes, all of you are correct. In stats, standard error always measures the precision of an estimate. Correct. So, whenever we do any kind of hypothesis testing, whenever we create any standard variable also, so we always say the variable minus its expected value divided by the standard error of that variable. So this helps me understand the precision of the estimate, right? So that is correct. The answer will be 4. Okay. If A and B are symmetric matrix of the same order, which of the following is not correct? Give it a try. A is symmetric matrix. A is equal to A transpose. B is symmetric matrix. B is equal to B transpose. And they are of the same order. माने A plus B मैं कर सकती हूँ. अगर A का order 2x2 है, तो B का भी 2x2 ही है. So what will be A plus B? Will it be symmetric? देख लेते हैं. A plus B transpose can be written as A transpose plus B transpose. But A transpose is just A and B transpose is just B. So A plus B का transpose can be written as simply A plus B. So yes, it is symmetric. AB plus BA is a symmetric matrix. AB plus BA is a symmetric matrix. What about this statement? Let's see. AB plus BA का transpose. AB transpose plus BA transpose. So whenever we do AB transpose, it becomes B transpose A transpose plus A transpose B transpose. B transpose is just B. A transpose is A. A transpose is A. B transpose is B. Because I can rewrite this thing. You remember कि A plus B is nothing but B plus A in matrices. तो इसको मैं rewrite कर सकती हूँ. I can bring this first and I can write this later. So we have proved that AB plus BA का transpose is AB plus BA. That means this is also a correct statement. This is also coming out to be symmetric. Now try the third one. A plus A transpose and B plus B transpose are symmetric matrix. तो A plus A transpose का अगर मुझे transpose निकालना हो, this will be A transpose plus A transpose का transpose. A transpose is simply A beta because A is symmetric. And किसी भी matrix का transpose जब हम करते हैं तो हमें वो मैट्रिक्स ही मिल जाता है, right? And we know that A is equal to A transpose. So this and this will give me the same answer. So this is also the correct statement. C is also correct. So D is the incorrect statement. AB minus BA is a symmetric matrix. This is false. Correct. All of you are right. As a homework, please try this, huh? So take A as a symmetric matrix. अभी recently we proved this कि symmetric matrix के लिए क्या होना जरूरी है? The off diagonal elements have to be equal. So you take this matrix 1, 2, 2, 3 and you take another matrix 1, 0, 0, 2 and you find this value AB minus BA, right? And you find this value. And you tell me कि यहाँ पे क्या आंसर आता है और इसका ट्रांसपोज करके क्या आता है. Are you getting the same answer or not? Take it as a homework. Okay, give this question a try. Two matrices are given to you, find AB. One, two, 4, 3, 8, 0, 5, 9. This is a 2 cross, so 3 cross 2 matrix. There are 3 rows, 2 columns. And this is 2 rows, 1 column. तो आपको जो आंसर मिलेगा that should be 3 cross 1. Okay, so let's try. So first row with first column will give me 1 into 5 plus 3 into 9. Second row with first column 2 into 5 plus 8 into 9. Third row with first column 4 into 5 plus 0 into 9. 5 plus 9, 18, 27. 10 plus 20 plus 32, 82 and 20. So answer will be A. 32, 82, 20. That's the right answer to this question. Is it clear? Very simple. ठीक है. Move on to the next question, beta. Next करो. These are the questions which I don't like. Total food grain production in India. ये सब ही हैं जो मार्क्स थोड़ा नीचे करते हैं और बहुत ही ज्यादा तुक्का, I can say, guesswork involved होते हैं इन questions में. I mean, even if you ask me, I would not be able to recall all of this. बहुत मुश्किल है to remember all of the production, food grain production, agricultural production, and manufacturing sector and service sector. So it is difficult. Anyways, so the correct answer to this is 329.69. Right, so that's the answer to this question. So I would suggest that I'm already recording summarized version of survey and budget, but I would suggest budget and survey of last 2 to 3 years for your CUET and GATE exam. IIT के लिए you can leave this. बजट तो एक्चुअली आईआईटी में भी पूछते हैं, सर्वे उतना नहीं पूछते, दे डोंट गो दिस मच इन डेप्थ विद द डेटा. बजट दे कैन आस्क, बट एटलीस्ट 2 to 3 years का बजट एंड सर्वे all of you will go ahead and revise. Okay, next question. Which of the following year India had a surplus in its current account? The year was 2021. Then we had the coming up of COVID. So we could not have a surplus in the current account, but this is the year when we had a surplus, right? Actually, if you notice that, so COVID actually hit here only, 2020-21 only. We had something which was called as V-shaped recovery. All of you would know ये term कि V-shaped recovery क्या होता है. So we hit down and then we started recovering. तो क्या हुआ कि when it was a period of pandemic, exactly the year of pandemic, हाँ COVID-19 बोलते हैं, right? So 2021 was the exact year of pandemic जब हमारा growth down था. This is when we had compressed imports because no country had enough to export. किसी भी कंट्री के पास इतना नहीं था कि वो बाहर को सर्व कर पाए. Everyone wanted to serve their own nation. सब अपने लिए हर चीज को प्रोटेक्ट करके रखना चाहते थे. So because no country was selling to the other country, we were also not, उसका मतलब ये हो गया कि we were not buying from the other countries. So our imports became compressed, right? So because the imports were less, automatically we hit a surplus in the current account. Now post that, 21, why I called this as the actually COVID period is that this is when we started seeing the time when we wanted to hit the recovery phase. माने we hit a low, but अब हमें recover करना था, right? So when we had to recover, when we had to grow back, जब हमारा manufacturing processes वापस start हो गए, जब हमारी services वापस start हो गई, the surplus which was there, it was a fake surplus. Surplus इसलिए नहीं था because we did well in the exports. Surplus इसलिए था because we had compressed imports, right? So then in the period of 2021-22, when it was still COVID era, but when we were recovering from that period, it is when वो जो surplus आया था, it became negative again. So the answer will be 2020-21. Option number C. Okay, so let's go on to the next question. The direct tax to GDP ratio in India for the year 2022-23 is? Anyone? So again, it's a ratify wala question. Not much to kind of explain here. The answer to this question is actually 4. So it's 6.11. Nothing to explain. I have nothing here to tell you. With respect to land holding pattern in India, medium farmer refer to those who have a land holding in the range of. Yes, all of you are correct. Yes, that's right. So, in Delhi University, have you done the IED by any chance? I think it was in this semester only, right? Sem 5 May. Some people, if you're from Delhi University, you must have read IED. Usme there are readings, you're right, which talk about this. Okay, if not, then just have a look. Huh? If you have not, then in the DSC website, you will find IED ka readings. There is a they get out the syllabus at the start of every semester, and in which they mention the important readings. A lot of times, those readings are the one where the entire paper of the Indian economy will be set from. So, if time permits, you can, in the last few days of your CUET preparation, pick up the important data points from there and read through. Okay. Okay, so the correct answer to this question is 4 to 10 hectares, right? So medium farmer is one who has 4 to 10 hectares of the land holding. Okay, next question. Which of the following is not the correct assumption of the Heckscher-Ohlin theory? So go ahead, tell this one. All resources are fully employed in both nations. This is true. So we are assuming that whatever जो भी labor या capital है उसको हम full employ कर रहे हैं. So इसमें कोई गलत नहीं है. Trade between two countries is balanced trade. हाँ, yes, we assume this. Trade is balanced. Balanced का मतलब क्या होगा? So we assume that the trade is going to happen in such a way कि एक कमोडिटी एक कंट्री प्रोड्यूस करेगी और एक कमोडिटी एक कंट्री प्रोड्यूस करेगी. So we assume this happening, right? That is the correct statement, that the trade is balanced, right? So both commodities are produced under constant returns to scale in both the countries. So again, this is true. This is one of the assumptions of the model, right? Demand preferences are not identical. No, so we assume that the demand preferences are identical in both the countries, right? So this is an assumption of the Heckscher-Ohlin model. कोई भी international theory का model हो, whether it is Heckscher-Ohlin, whether it is comparative advantage model, whether it is absolute advantage, whether it is specific factor model, whether it is any other model, हर मॉडल का assumption, limitation, ये दो चीजें, assumptions and limitations, right? You have to know them thoroughly. So preferences not identical is not an assumption. In fact, it assumes identical taste and preferences. So question number this 30 answer will be D. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Which of the following is not true about classical and Keynesian AD and AS schedules? Classical aggregate supply curve is vertical. Not true बताना है, हाँ? So this is true. Because we assume कि हमारे पास full employment है. ये तो true है. Keynesian AS schedule slope upward to the right. This is also true. The AS schedule is like this for the Keynes model, right? Classical AD schedule depends on the level of the money supply. So this is also true. Keynesian AD schedule depends on the, क्योंकि this comes from, I can write it here also. The AD schedule it is formed through the quantity theory of money. Okay. So if I write MV is equal to PY, this is helping me derive the demand schedule also, right? So I get 1 by PMV is equal to Y. So we notice that there is an inverse relationship between price and output. And it only depends upon the amount of money, क्योंकि velocity of money को हम constant मानते हैं. So this is also true. The classical AD schedule depends on the level of the money supply. Keynesian AD schedule depends on the existing capital stock. This is false. क्योंकि हमने AD schedule को डिराइव करने के लिए वी स्टडीड अ कंप्लीट एनालिसिस. हमने कंजम्पशन फंक्शन पढ़ा था, इन्वेस्टमेंट फंक्शन पढ़ा था. सो वी स्टडीड अ कंप्लीट मॉडल अराउंड द Keynesian theory, right? So this statement is a false statement. So fourth one. Is it clear? Any doubt in this one? So Keynesian AD schedule depends on consumption, investment, government expenditure, net export, money condition, expectations of inflation. बहुत सारी चीजों पे depend करता है, right? So fourth one is the wrong answer. Okay. Come to the next one. Answer this. Which of the following is not correct about the offer curve? एक एक करके देखते हैं. The offer curve were devised and introduced in international economics by Marshall and Edgeworth. True. Offer curve were given by Marshall and Edgeworth. Beta, this is international economics. If you have not studied it, make sure that you read international economics. In detail, I have explained what are offer curves. The offer curve were devised and introduced in international economics by Marshall and Edgeworth. Correct statement है. The offer curve of a nation shows nation's willingness to import and export at various relative commodity prices. True. ऑफर कर्व ये बताता है कि अगर मैं कमोडिटी के रिलेटिव प्राइसेस को ले लूं तो इस पर मेरे कितने एक्सपोर्ट एंड इंपोर्ट होंगे. आई मे बी एक्सपोर्टिंग वन कमोडिटी एंड इंपोर्टिंग द अदर कमोडिटी, राइट? So it goes ahead and tells me that at different relative ratios, right? Yeah, we can say that at different amount of the prices of export and import. जब हम price of export and import निकालते हैं, what is that called? When I find the relativeness between export and import, what is that called? Anyone? Difference between the value of export and value of import is called? No. ठीक है. So दो चीजें हैं. You tell me both these things. One, export minus import. All of us know it's called current account balance. Okay. Second, what is the ratio of export price to import price called? Come on. What is the ratio of export price to import price called? No. हाँ जी. No. TOT. Terms of trade. It measures the rate at which a country export exchange for its import. Ratio of export price to import price is called TOT. If I multiply price of export by price of import into 100, It is also called as NBTT, net barter terms of trade. Net barter terms of trade. तो माने इन अ वे आई एम सेइंग कि ऑफर कर्व क्या बता रहा है? दिस इज टेलिंग मी हाउ मच एक्सपोर्ट एंड इंपोर्ट आई विल डू at different terms of trade, at different term of trade. So this is correct. The offer curve of a nation can be derived from nation's production frontier. So again, if you have not read this chapter of offer curve, I will highly suggest you to do so. How we derive the offer curve, कैसे हम join करते हैं and we get the offer curve, but this is a correct statement. Offer curve of nation bent towards the axis measuring the commodity of its comparative disadvantage. No, comparative advantage. This is false. So answer will be 4. Okay. Okay. So let's do last 3 questions for the day. Do this one. One of the conditions for national income or output to be in equilibrium is that desired investment must be equal to released investment. If I is greater than IR, the difference results in others. So if my I is greater than IR, this is my desired investment, how much investment I want to do and how much investment I am actually doing. Now, when I is greater than IR, it means that what I desired and what I did, there is a gap between the two, right? So I suppose I desired to do 400 amount of investment and I only did 300 amount of investment, right? It means that there was a shortfall of investment. I did less investment than I desired. Simple. So if there was a shortfall, answer will be 2. जितना investment करना था उससे कम किया है. Okay. Next question. Linear regression model is. So linearity always means linearity in पैरामीटर्स. ये पहला चीज है जो हम इकोनोमेट्रिक्स में बताते हैं. So y is equal to beta 1 plus beta 2 1 by x plus u. This is linear model. But y is equal to 1 by beta 1 plus beta 2 x. This is non-linear model. क्योंकि यहाँ पे बीटा में नॉन लीनियरिटी है. Right? So I need linearity in parameters. May or may not be linear in variable. Variable से मुझे मतलब नहीं है. So based on that, linear in explanatory variable may not be linear in parameter. गलत है. I need linearity in parameter. Non-linear in parameter, incorrect. Linear in parameter must be linear in variable. No. Non-linear in variable is also fine. So answer will be D. Linear in parameter can be linear in variable. ठीक है. Okay. Last question. Which of the following does not hold at equilibrium price and quantity in perfectly competitive market? Okay. Total surplus is maximized. ये तो true है बेटा. क्योंकि in perfect competition, हाँ, you always notice that there is no deadweight loss. माने total surplus is maximum. This is correct. दूसरा देखते हैं, marginal benefit equal to marginal cost, ये भी correct है. Right? So because price is equal to MC and price comes from demand curve, marginal benefit and marginal cost are always equal. ये भी correct है. All competitive equilibria are Pareto optima. First, I'll look at option 4. This is also correct. This is first welfare theorem. जैसे ही कोई चीज कंपेटिटिव इक्विलिब्रियम होगी, ऑटोमेटिकली इट विल बिकम पेरेटो एफिशिएंट. खुद से ही वो पेरेटो एफिशिएंट हो जाएगी. राइट? Minimum willingness to pay equals minimum acceptable price. This is false. Right? At equilibrium, buyer's willingness to pay is equal to price. But वो minimum नहीं होती है. Right? We are not talking about minimum willingness to pay equal to price. That is not happening. Right? So option C is incorrect. So C will be your marked answer. Okay, so we'll stop here for today. We'll take one more session in which I will do the remaining 35 questions. And all of you will solve and come before we discuss them. Huh? You should not be blank in the class. You should have your doubts कि ये क्यों नहीं है, वो क्यों नहीं है. For that, you have to solve and come. So solve the remaining 35 questions. Whatever are left, we'll discuss them in the next class. Okay, thank you. This PDF, yes, it's already there on the website of ArthaPoint, but I will share it in the portal also. Last month strategy, see, although I may tell that, but all of you should have strategy based on what are your weak points. It may happen कि आपके लिए macro weak है और दूसरे individual के लिए statistics is a weak point. So you have to capture your weak points, but you have to do the question bank, revise the question bank. You have to do the mock papers, revise the mock papers. You have to do the past year questions. देखो past year question करने में साथ में took us 3 hours. ठीक है? Each option you have to read. You have to understand the concept. So if I am picking up a past year question from externality, you should go back and revise the concept of externality. Right? So you pick up a topic. जैसे अगर मैंने सोचा कि मैं आज सारे क्वेश्चन एक्सटर्नैलिटी से रिलेटेड लूंगी, although it's a very small topic, you should be picking a subject as a whole. I will do all microeconomics question अगर आप ऐसा सोचते हो. So you take a day, you revise your micro concepts, you pick up a past year paper and do the micro paper. All questions related to micro, CUET ke, IIT ke, GATE ke, whatever you are practicing, do all. Right? Now is not the time ki I will look at some video, ma'am. I will go back and I will do, DPP 14, DPP 18. ये सब time नहीं है अब. You have to do the past year questions. You have to do the question bank. You have to do the marathons with me. So that is what can be the strategy from my side. But of course, you can have your own weak points. This, I can, but it will be very clumsy. I don't know where all I have written. But if you want, I can share this PDF. Okay, thank you. For GATE aptitude, more than the portal, the past year questions. If you do last 5-year PYQs of GATE part A, GATE will be sorted. Indian economy should be the last thing to focus on. So if you notice, we have already covered 50% of CUT 2025. And there were only 3 to 4 questions. I think only 3 questions of Indian economy. Last year, students who attempted 60 to 62 questions correct, 75 में से. 60 to 62 out of 75. They were in top 10 rankers of CUT All India. I'm talking about correct. So the idea is not to go ahead and not to focus on only one subject. Don't just keep stressing about Indian economy. Focus on the remaining four, जहाँ पे certainty है कि if I know a topic, I will do it well. Ideally, we should not say it was random. I think you have done 35 questions with me. Nothing was random in that sense. The paper was lengthy. That is what we kept complaining. Her question may we had to go through all four options. But was it random? माने there is no question जो एकदम off the topic आया हो. ऐसा भी नहीं है ना. It's just that ऐसा जरूर हुआ है कि it was very lengthy. माने for me to attempt all these questions correctly in 3 hours, it is difficult. हम already 3 hours बैठे and we have only done half of the exam. So yes, that was true that it was lengthy. Few of the questions were random. वो हर साल होंगे. I cannot tell food level production, agricultural production, current account deficit of 2021. But still, I can attempt 60 questions correctly. I can attempt 64 questions, 65 questions correctly out of 75. So the aim is you do what you know certainly. That should be correct. And अगर हम 60 questions correct निकाल लेते हैं, and if we do with the method of elimination, even 3-4 may, if we guess work and do that correctly, we are sorted. DSE is our thing. JNU, DSE, IG, IDR. The strategy has to be very apt. ठीक है. Okay, thank you. Same. So it's true for all actually papers. IIT, GATE, CUET does not matter. Just GATE में one additional thing which you have to do is the part A. And उसके लिए, as I said, last 5-year paper, उसी में से they'll ask you repeated questions in part A. ठीक है. Last year, the student who topped from us, he had done last 20 years of GATE part A. And he said, ma'am, एक भी question ऐसा नहीं था which had a different number also. Even the numbers were repeated from the previous year. So if you do that, GATE ka ranking automatically improves.